We're back to a normal show tonight, but how do I not start with what I have been in the middle of for the past few days, just the latest update. We're not going to go on and on about it, but I want to make sure that the people in southeast Queensland and now increasingly regional Queensland know that we can see them, even though some of the intensity of the media attention is going to go in the next couple of days. The worry for the majority of the population today was flooding in and around Brisbane. At this stage, as best as I can work out, minor, but that was the worry of the Premier today.
I want to reflect on the impact to Brisbane because I know some intense rainfall throughout the night did see some flash flooding in some of those areas. Major flood warnings are in place for the Albert and Logan rivers. Door knocks have occurred in these areas, and it is crucial because telecommunications remains a challenge in some parts of this area.
Big clean-up in and around Hervey Bay after their situation of a couple of hundred mils falling in just a few hours. Looking at the rain radar right now, it is intensifying to the west as basically, if I can draw a circle here, from Theodore in the north, which is inland, way inland, but basically from, say, Bundaberg, down and around to Roma, over across maybe to Kingaroy, and up in Monto, sort of up in the top right-hand corner. It is hard, heavy and moving its way across, and that will have its own issues in the next little while. Here's the latest from Sky News Weather about what the next 24 hours looks like in the mighty state of Queensland.
Over the next 24 hours, while we are still dealing with rainfall, you can see it's moving to the south. So it is continuing to push out of Brisbane and well into New South Wales. What this means for your Tuesday. Again, the system could produce still isolated periods of heavy rainfall, and the threat for thunderstorms remains in the mix.
All right, in New South Wales, there is still some flooding in some areas, but fingers crossed this thing is starting to fall away, but that doesn't mean that there aren't worries for their Premier today.
I want to make it clear that we're not out of the woods yet. We're watching very closely the river systems in the northern rivers. There's still a lot of rain out there. There's still a lot of full rivers, swollen rivers.
And the Prime Minister was definitely not campaigning today. Anthony Albanese was definitely not trying to get on television today. He definitely had vital and important pieces of information that was breaking news from coast to coast. He was definitely not campaigning.
This has been a difficult period, but we are seeing it through, and we are seeing it through together as a community, as Australians, showing who we are. We're a resilient bunch, and we deal with hardship.
Vital and important up-to-the-minute information from the Prime Minister, who's definitely not just trying to keep his head on television in that seat in northern New South Wales that the Labor Party has always looked to win, but currently the National Party has, and he's definitely not trying to do the same when it comes to southeast Queensland. As for the thousands of homes that have been reconnected, and after a weekend of no power, there has been quite a few happy faces in and around. There are still tens of thousands of homes that do not have the power. But when the power comes back on in your suburb, and by the look of it, I think this is either Coolangatta or Tweed Heads, but everyone has the same reaction when the power comes on after a couple of days. How good is this? I love that moment. All right, may there be many more smiles and cheers in the next few days. Obviously, the 24/7 coverage is on Sky News Weather. Make sure the homepage is skynews.com.au. As part of the Prime Minister definitely not campaigning today, he decided to go after the insurance companies. Now, there are always, and I mean always, huge deficiencies in the way that insurance companies react to these situations. People have to go through a long and bureaucratic process because these companies, they don't want to pay out. Why? Because that's the whole point of their business. Remember, the whole point of the insurance business is to bet that you will not need to claim anything from them in any 12-month period. When that number goes up, their profits go down and their share price may well be affected. But the Prime Minister, again, definitely not campaigning today, was saying pretty populist stuff regarding insurance companies.
Insurance companies have plenty of money. They are ripping us off. They have put their premiums up, double inflation. What do you say to that?
I say that Koshi's right, and we will certainly hold the insurance companies to account. This is a time where they need to do a bit of repair of their relationships with the Australian public by doing the right thing and making payments immediately for people who are eligible. That's what people expect.
Definitely not campaigning. Vital news information from the Prime Minister today that could not be delivered from Canberra. It had to be delivered from the tropical cyclone zone. The problem is the Prime Minister pretends he is powerless in this situation. Now, if he believes that the insurance industry is ripping people off, then why doesn't he change the law? Parliament will be coming back for the budget, but there'll be a few days in and around it where if they want to pass a law, they can pass a law. They can change the insurance system to make sure that the T's and C's are only an A4 piece of paper. But of course, the truth is that these companies and this area is big, it's complicated, and any major changes that force more payments, and there should be, people getting paid when it comes to insurance, but the more they pay out, the higher they charge. And one of the things that has been shoving inflation through the roof, one of the things that this government can't hide behind when it comes to pretending that they've helped with the cost of living that I've been talking about for years, is insurance. Now, the reality of our country is 27 million people. There is only so many people who share the overall financial burden when it comes to insurance. Because the cost of it keeps going up, it's fewer people, and obviously kids aren't having insurance. And now we're in a scenario where some of the people who absolutely need it can't afford it, and 1.6 million people are in a scenario where to get through the day, to pay for the rent, to pay for the mortgage, to pay for all of the stuff the Prime Minister says doesn't matter because we've definitely changed the subject, look at me over here, not campaigning, not at all. Those people have had to choose, and when it goes wrong and you bet against Mother Nature, you end up being in a world of pain, either being uninsured or underinsured. So tonight on the show, a little bit later, I'm going to have a talk to somebody about how can we put a handbrake on an insurance company to make sure that their threshold for payment is lower, that the cost of premiums don't go through the roof, and what the federal parliament could do as soon as tomorrow if they really cared about that situation. But of course, they're just definitely not campaigning.